TBC, y'all. Check it out. Y'all ready? Come on.
It's very American. The music is very American, very hip hop.
It will have a nice little touch.
Okay.
You will see.
And the dream comes true. If you believe it, then you will do. In the heart of China, baby, the enterprise block, the missionaries and the visionaries take the hot spot. Entrepreneurial intelligence and skills here at TBC. Let's do it. Let's do it.
And who did the music? You got a singer? You did it?
I did the music part, and then we had some friends doing the singing part.
Impressive. Oh yeah, I saw the video. Great.
Try to give a different touch.
Yeah.
A different perspective.
Indeed.
Entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs.
Let's go!
It's our official anthem.
Great. Love
Sing
it.
every morning when we come in.
Yeah, that's great. That's great for the day. To start the day. That's great.
Company culture.
Yeah, exactly.
TBC, let's go!
Let's go! Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Homberger from GBC, and you're watching LIVINESS. And here with me this evening, we have Elise Zhu.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Elise
Hi, everyone.
is an organizational psychologist who works as an executive coach,
Yes.
talent assessor, and leadership trainer.
Yes.
So, please give us a little bit of background about yourself and to everyone who's watching us right now.
Okay, well, you already summarized it. I'm an organizational psychologist, and I do one-on-one coaching with corporate leaders usually, and then I also help companies to assess and evaluate their talents, and then help develop them. And the third part I'm doing is leadership training, but in a very specific area. It's about neuroscience and leadership. It's really about applying the knowledge of how our brain and our nervous system works and how it can be related to management and leadership.
So it's all brain related, and
Yes.
also in understanding how different people in the corporate world and in different functions, how their brain works, and to
Exactly.
understand their patterns.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly.
Wonderful. Sounds very interesting. And
It is.
as we're here today to discover, our topic is how entrepreneurs' brains are different. And as I'm pretty sure that as many people who are watching us as I am are very curious to know what the actual difference is.
Yes.
So let's get started on that.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, to be frank, the body of research about entrepreneurs are quite limited, let's say. In fact, the first ever research article about entrepreneurship published in a top-notch scientific journal like Nature happened in 2008. So quite recent, let's say, still, right? Almost 10 years, but still quite recent. And compared to the body of research of, the equivalent of corporate leaders, it's really limited. But still, we are lucky enough to have some of the studies already done on entrepreneurs, and especially how your brain and how your nervous system works, how different your brains are compared to our normal people, and also like corporate managers. So like I mentioned, the first article was done by a neuropsychologist called Barbara Sahakian from University of Cambridge. They actually compared two groups of people. One group of serial entrepreneurs, like let's say Mars, who has at least started 2 companies in their past. And then a group of corporate managers. And then they compare, how different in terms of decision making on risk taking. So interesting
Mostly
enough,
focuses on risk-taking.
Exactly.
Risk-taking
Exactly.
capabilities.
Exactly, like how much you can tolerate risks, and how big is your appetite to betting on things that you are not sure of. These unknown and uncertainties. So the results are quite interesting. In terms of something in psychology we call co-decision making, which means we make decisions, rely much on data and logic. On this scale, actually, the serial entrepreneurs and the corporate managers, they basically score on the same percentile, which means they both use this way of decision making. But on the other side of decision making, we call it the hot decision making, which means you actually let your emotions play a significant part in decision making. Then on this scale, the serial entrepreneurs, they actually scored much higher than corporate managers.
Than corporate managers.
Which means you guys, let's say you are an entrepreneur, let's say, so you guys are more passionate. You have a bigger appetite for taking risks. Actually, in the study, these group of serial entrepreneurs, they are already aged at 51 on average, but still they are taking risks as if they were still in their 20s. So in fact, if we look at normal people, our appetite for risk taking actually declines when we get older. But for entrepreneurs, they keep taking risks.
Maybe decreases a little bit less, but stays at a higher level.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is, let's say, the first scientific study done on entrepreneurs. And then some neuropsychologists, actually one called David Zhu, I remember, from Vanderbilt University. And then he and his team took this notion much further. They start to scan the brains of entrepreneurs. And they found out, we have these dopamines flow in our brain when we see something we like. For example, we see something new, something that turns you on, or something that, some goals that you achieve, and then we have this release of dopamine in our brain. We all know this happiness chemical, right?
How it makes you feel happy and gives you that sense of achievement and also satisfaction.
Exactly,
right?
And also motivates you to get more. So this is really about risk-taking, because you take a bigger risk, then you have a bigger hit of dopamine in your brain. And the thing is, the difference about entrepreneurs and normal people, let's say, that you guys actually have fewer dopamine receptors in your brain, which means, well, this getting a bit academic, but the thing is, let's take an example. It's almost like we can think of dopamine as gasoline in a car. And the dopamine receptors is like the brake, that you hit. But for entrepreneurs, the brake is not working as well as normal people, let's say.
So the car keeps running.
Exactly. So you push limits much more than we normal people. So this is really, we call the neurochemical difference in normal people and also your entrepreneurial brains. That's about, let's say, risk-taking. And another difference between entrepreneurial brain and the public brain is they really function differently. It's a functional difference. Although our brain are wired, let's say, anatomically or structurally the same, but the thing is, you use it differently than us. That's a study done by an MIT research team.
So it's not only about the brain patterns, but also the usage of the brain itself.
How you use it, yes,
okay.
different.
Interesting.
So
MIT study.
MIT study, right? Yes. So it's more recent. It was done in 2013. So they recruit two groups of people, one corporate managers and then a group of entrepreneurs, and then they start to scan their brain. When they were asked to perform, the academics call them exploration, which in layman terms is really about how creative you can be in terms of problem solving. They ask you to think about alternative solutions and approaches to a problem. So then they attach these actually they put you into this fMRI machine and then scan your brain to see how different you are using the brain. So for corporate managers, they actually activate the left side of the brain much more when they are thinking about coming up with some new ideas to solve a problem. But for you entrepreneurs, you actually activate both sides of the brain. So which means, because, we do know that the left side of the brain is more responsible for logical thinking, structured thinking.
The logical part.
Exactly. And this part, let's say, it's more responsible for the creative thinking.
For creative thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
So
left,
you see
right.
the difference?
Yes.
You guys use the both parts.
So we can, in a way, we can actually say that it's been somehow scientifically proven how entrepreneurs think outside of the box.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes, in this case, to problem solving.
Exactly.
There is an actual physical almost reason why this happens.
Yeah. So that's one very interesting study done on your brain and corporate manager's brain. You use it really differently. Although we both have the left side of brain and the right side of brain, but we can say that entrepreneurs think more creatively and out of the box, but corporate managers tend to be more structured thinking and also much more conservative in a way.